Gifting. Gifting is such an important part of Q4. So I just want to rip through a couple of ideas and how I approach gifting related content for a brand. Step 1, figuring out just who are we talking to and who are they purchasing for. Step 2 is going to be about connecting the dots between gifting reactions, and your top product USPs. Step 3, how to best articulate gifting in your ad account. Step 4, post-click. It is very important and people forget about it. Old trick in my book, but a well-used one. Guaranteed recipe for success. I love working with Pilot House because while we are a performance marketing agency, we really pride ourselves on caring so much about brand and creative. At Pilot House, we don't just make ads, we craft them. Every edit, every word, every scroll-stopping detail is built with purpose and care, and I truly believe that care drives creativity and creativity drives results. Our attention to both scale and brand allows us to craft strategies that deliver you short-term results while making you long-term successful, which is so important for any DTC brand. If you are curious about learning more about working with Pilot House, you can fill out a lead form at pilothouse.co and let them know you want to go on a brand new ad venture. You don't actually have to say that. You don't have to make a pun. I'm not going to force you to make a pun. Just fill out the lead form. We'd love to chat with you. Hi, welcome back to Ad-venturous, the podcast produced by DTC and hosted by me, Aves. Today I have a very exciting topic for me personally, which is gifting. I feel like we kind of sometimes lose sight, because Black Friday is an entire month now, that gifting is such an important part of Q4. We all get really bogged down with talking about sale messaging and sale structure. Obviously, I am guilty of doing that. I talk about those things a lot. But something that I think sometimes gets pushed to the wayside is actual gifting messaging, which, like I said, is a really big part of Q4 for a lot of actual consumers. So it's important, I think, to really think through strategically how you want to frame your product as a gift and what kind of language is going to work. What kind of scenarios are you most often seeing people purchase for? And yeah, just everything gifting. It's fun to make ads about gifting, but also I feel like it's just something I really like to do. I love specifically buying gifts for my partner because he is not easy to buy for, but he is really fun to buy for, if that makes sense. It's like every year I get to go out. It's sort of a challenge. I'm an Aries, so I really do enjoy a challenge. And yeah, it's cool and fun to find gifts for people who are like my boyfriend. Like, he's very low key. Occasionally there's like a really specific wall adapter that he wants or something so niche. So to find him gifts, again, as someone with really specific hobbies and also someone who, like, he just does not like clutter or waste, it's very satisfying to buy him things that he actually enjoys and wants. So yeah, that's the episode today. Gonna try to make it really quick and really tactical because, like I said, this is like actually a core component of Q4. So I just want to rip through a couple of ideas and how I approach gifting related content for a brand, because like I said, it does really matter and it makes your brand just, I think, a little bit stickier this time of year instead of just focusing on sale ads, because while they are super important, especially in the top of funnel, they're not the be all end all of success in Q4. I was just talking about this on an internal call today over at Pilot House. We were chatting about people kind of forget that December exists in the world of e-commerce and DTC. Like, genuinely, there's so much energy required to run a successful Black Friday program that by the time December rolls around, people are so burnt out and exhausted. So that's why we're talking about it now, in November, when we still maybe have some capacity and energy to actually strategize around gifting. So first, I want to talk about mapping out a assumed gifting journey. I think this is a really important step that a lot of people miss when they start thinking about how to present their products as gifts. I work with a couple brands, and I've had the fortune of working with brands that are like highly giftable products. So I know ball when it comes to gifting and when it comes to working gifting into an overall marketing strategy. The really specific thing about considering what a typical gifting journey is going to look like is that it's always more difficult to market a product to the person who's not actually buying it. So another instance of this is like children's items, children's clothing, toys. You're marketing it to parents a lot of the time, but its ultimate end user is not the person making the purchase. So it's similar with gifting, where you have to sort of account for a couple of different layers within a very short time frame. As we all know, you've got like 3 to 5 seconds or just a static placement. So you're really doing a lot when it comes to gifting ads, which makes it just even more important, like I said, to really understand what a typical gifting journey is going to look like for someone. So some brands are going to, I've done the thing again where I mapped out topics and I didn't think of examples. So we're going to think of really fun, silly examples to use to kind of talk through different gifting scenarios. But some products, let's say like I'm looking around my desk, by the way. Okay, this is embarrassing, but say you run a crystal business. If anyone's wondering, it is a clear crystal because I am in my like Saturn return era right now. I'm trying to figure out what that means. I keep seeing people talk about it on TikTok. I don't really know what's going on there, but I'm trying to like make space in my life for new things, as you do nearing the end of your 20s. Anyway, say I run a crystal business and I really want to focus some of my creative efforts and my marketing budget behind gifting. I'm going to make some generalizations here based on my own life, but say you, with your crystal business, you typically sell your product directly to women aged like 25 to 30. Again, really revealing my own cards here. But what you want to do when you start thinking about actual gifting and what that journey is going to look like is dive into your actual data from years prior. So a lot of the time you'll see this come up in reviews, particularly, I got this as a gift from my husband, I got this as a gift from my best friend, that kind of thing. So start to pick apart any kind of gifting related reviews to start making assumptions around how people are going to purchase your product as a gift. Crystals, I think, it's a really actually kind of a banger example. Again, just kind of generalizing, my boyfriend would not in a million years buy me a crystal for Christmas because he doesn't really know what's going on with them at all. It's kind of a very high barrier to entry gift. You have to understand like what the person's maybe going through, what kind of crystals do what, and what energy you want them bringing into their lives. So crystals are maybe not going to be like a partner-centered gift. However, all day long, I've done it before, I will buy my best friend a crystal every single day of the week because I know day in and day out what is in her mind and what is in her soul and what is going on with her energetically. So I feel confident making that purchase. So you'd probably see that. Again, I'm just basing this off of my own general outlook on crystals, but you'd probably see that pop up quite a bit in reviews or even just in comment sections about why people are gifting it. Try to kind of timestamp like December and January if you've got a lot of data to go through and look at comments and reviews from that period of time. I also have to say something that I love doing is just talking to customers directly. If I see someone has made a really big order at the beginning of December, I really don't mind giving them some kind of offer and corresponding with them directly. I think sometimes we overlook that as like a banger opportunity we have in the e-commerce space. But yeah, asking people directly like, why did you buy all these? Who were they for? And what was your idea around gifting? So that is like one very somehow personal example about like how you would think about gifting and making sure that you're not just making generalizations. On the other hand, say you have a jewelry brand. Jewelry is like a very typical product to purchase for a partner. It's nice and easy. It's typically pretty standard. The sizing doesn't really matter if it's like a necklace or something. So that is when you can start to invoke like impress her or my partner got this for me, using that directly in sort of CGC hooks. But again, to really start even thinking of what those angles are going to be, you have to understand who is buying your product for who and what are the main USPs that both that sort of gift giver as well as the gift receiver are going to truly care about. So step one, figure out how people are gifting your products, who they're gifting it to, and start to like give yourself the tools, I guess is a good way to put it, to really make gifting content that's going to work. Okay, so step one is like laying the foundation, figuring out just who are we talking to and who are they purchasing a gift for. Step two is going to be about connecting the dots between gifting reactions, and your top product USPs. This is like my favorite part of the gifting content equation, if we want to call it that. It's really fun to think about what would stir up a reaction in a like gift recipient when it comes to your product, because a lot of the times, like every other quarter of the year, we are just thinking about like, how do we convince people to be interested in this for themselves? But I think, as again, someone who just like loves gift giving, it's really fun to think about like what would get you excited to give this product to someone else. It's a much like different way to go about things, but it adds like an extra layer, in my opinion, of whimsy and excitement to like your everyday run-of-the-mill USPs. So we're gonna keep rolling with the crystal example because I think it's really, really funny. A good way to frame sort of the crystal gifting conversation is sort of exactly what I mentioned, where it's like you are buying a specific crystal for someone at a specific time in their life because you know them very well. And I think that's a really fun thing to play off of. So you're not selling like I don't know a whole lot about crystals. I hope like the astrology girlies aren't upset with me if I get this wrong, but I feel like if I'm remembering correctly, like an amethyst is supposed to be quite calming. So if you have a friend who's like crash out city every day, an amethyst is actually a really nice, sweet, thoughtful gift. And I feel like the main word that I want to sort of pull out as a thread there is thoughtful, because that is something that pops up a lot across like top winning gift focused creative, is pairing the main USP with the sentimentality behind giving someone a gift because you know they're going to really like it and you really like that person and you want to make them happy. If you're able to invoke that in your content, and if you're able to sort of show that off as well, I think it makes your gifting creative much stronger, because you're not just saying like, here's a fun gift idea. It's coming from like a bit more of a genuine place, I suppose, and somewhere that's a little bit more educated than just, this is the perfect gift for anyone on your list this year. I think it adds like an extra layer of depth. You see a lot of those like gift focused listicles. They're typically pay to play. They do sometimes work really well if you've never like gotten on one of them with your brand. It is usually worth the money. But the thing about those like pay to play listicles is exactly what I said. A lot of the times it's just like, here is the perfect gift for anybody on your list this year. And it removes a lot of the personality from gifting, where again, if you kind of are able to invoke the sentimentality and the thoughtfulness behind the gift and why purchasing that thing would make someone else's life a little bit better, then you're really kind of cranking. It's giving Elf, it's giving Santa's Workshop, it's giving Good Times Are Rolling, Happy Holidays, we all love it. So really, again, think about how not to go super broad with your gifting, but rather niche down. I've talked about this before, where niching down is often the way to scale, which feels to a lot of brands that I talk to sort of counterintuitive, because it doesn't make any sense when you say it out loud. Like if I just said to you straight up, you will attract more people if you niche down. That sounds really stupid and really silly of me. But if you think about it, it does make a lot of sense, because there are a lot of different types of people in the world, and you are not going to satisfy every single one with your gift idea, your gift product. So you really want to make sure, again, that you're speaking to the right people. We talk about this on the Ad-venturous podcast all the time. I know we talk about this a lot on All Killer No Filler. It's really important to understand who you're talking to, which is, again, why step one is just figure out the typical gifting journey. But yeah, step two is definitely about like marrying USPs and the sentimentality behind gifting. The crystal example is not so good. I think a better example would be like jewelry in this case, where it's thoughtful, it's sparkly, you're showing someone how much you care. That one's really easy. If your product's a little bit more niche, honestly, drop it in the comments. Would love to like workshop some fun gifting ideas. But yeah, it's really about like marrying what people actually like to purchase about your product and then that sentimentality behind gift giving. Because if you just focus on, again, top 10 gifts for everyone this year, you lose sight of what you've done all year, which is do the work to figure out why people actually want to buy your product. So you want to make sure that you're tying that in as much as possible. Step 3 in the gifting creative journey is going to be around how to best articulate gifting in your ad account. This is a really interesting one. I feel like we have, and maybe I'll do another episode on just the creative range and what that means. But I want to talk about what types of content to deploy when you're looking at gifting. Number one, hands down, in my opinion, is always going to be creator generated content for gifting. It just makes it a little bit more real to people. And then you can kind of partner it with actual visuals of the product being unwrapped or the product being placed under the tree. Like, it's just a lot more evocative of the gifting spirit compared to like a static that just has a headline about gifting that feels a little bit bland, a little bit boring. But you do want to make sure that you're sort of accounting for all of it, because just like any angle, you want to make sure that you're talking to people at every single stage of awareness and stage of the funnel. So making sure you've got a healthy creative range from sort of branded, like static and video content, with some gifting focused copy, all the way down to like very humanized CGC content where we're showing the product, like I said, in situations that invoke actual gift giving a little bit more. Part of the reason why I talk about this so much and why it is so critical to any angle is exactly what I said. People come in, especially around this time of year, at much different stages of awareness than they usually do. So you want to make sure that you are really thinking through every single type of scenario. So there's going to be people who are maybe problem aware but not product aware. There are going to be people who are product aware and not problem aware. There are going to be people who aren't aware of anything just looking for last minute gifts. So that's why you really want to make sure you've got a strong foundation with a ton of different types of content to really make sure that you are speaking to each and every one of those people, because intent is so much higher this time of year. Like I mentioned, people are just coming in really weird, wacky ways. Sometimes they've maybe looked at your brand for a while. Maybe they've never even heard about your brand. They don't really understand your product, but they're coming in because they know that their friend likes crystals. You know what I mean? It's a really different time in terms of consumer behavior and intent. So you really want to make sure that you're just supplying them with the right content to really make sure that they feel excited and comfortable ordering a gift from you. We are actually talking about this. I believe it'll be out this week. If not this week, maybe next. I don't know, but we're going to talk about creative diversity in the context of Andromeda on All Killer No Filler with Eric, which I think will be really interesting. We've talked about it before on Ad-venturous, but especially like if we think about Q4 plus all of these changes to Meta, it is just really, really important. I cannot stress this enough, to have a really broad creative range. This is something we've always thought really deeply about at Pilot House, because we've always thought about the creative range in terms of efficiency in an ad account. So a few years ago, to me, a ad account that had really branded content all the way down to really humanized, sort of scrappier content felt really healthy because it meant they were balancing costs and intent. It's a much different game now in that that type of ad account isn't just like, oh, gold star, you're doing really well. It's like necessary to see any performance and to have any sort of promise in advertising on Meta. So times have definitely changed in that it used to be a sort of nice to have on the Meta creative front to have a big, broad creative range, and now it's essential to your success. If this is something that you're sort of struggling with, you can head over to the Palette House website and fill out a lead form. If you say that you came from this podcast, we can chat directly, which is really fun. Maybe it's not. I yap a lot, so maybe it's not that fun, but maybe that is fun. I don't know. I feel like if you listen to this podcast, you like to yap. I won't make any assumptions though, but yeah, if you do, we can chat directly. But like I said, it's something we've been doing for a long time. And now, again, with the rollout of Andromeda, it's just getting more and more important. And it's like completely necessary now rather than just a nice to have like it was previously. But that is step 3 of making sure your gifting content is on lock for this year, which is making sure you've got a big, broad, beautiful, creative range. The next step 4. I've been talking about this subject matter a lot, but we're going to talk about post-click once again because it is very important and people forget about it because it's not as maybe like interesting as finding like really cool, fun creator content that like skyrockets and scales right away, but it's this kind of like incremental value that post-click adds that I get really excited about. So let's talk about post-click in the context of gifting. Similarly to when you're looking to formulate landing page experiences for sale content around this time of year, you really want to think about, this sounds kind of mean, I guess, but dumbing your offering down as much as you possibly can because intent is high, the clicks are flying, people are looking at like site after site. I know I am when I am trying to shop for my boyfriend. So you really want to, like I said, just dumb down your offering as much as possible from a product USP point of view and also from a straight up offer sale point of view, if that's relevant to you. Something that I really love to do around this time of year is make sure that I have a landing page in rotation that speaks to a net new customer and can do so at scale. What I mean by that is I want to tell the story that matters the most to people. And again, hopefully the year leading up to this moment, you've done that testing. And so maybe for my make-believe crystal business from this episode, what really works well is a founder's story. So you bet your bottom dollar, I am going to make sure there is a landing page running that talks about the founder story, introduces like maybe a multi-pack of crystals that's really good for gifting, and then potentially, depending on kind of what's going on with you as a business, also has some kind of like limited edition offer on it. That is, I love doing this when it's like really late in the episode and I drop piping hot tea like that, but that is like almost a guaranteed recipe for success. Take the angle that works the best, put it on a landing page, slap a bundle on it that makes a lot of sense for gifting, and then further discount that bundle, and it will be flying off of the shelves. It is like a old trick in my book, but a well-used one, which is always a good sign. I'll typically grab like preloaded checkout links as well. So if you're working on Shopify, grabbing some preloaded checkout links, running people straight to cart as well really helps because it cuts down like that kind of choice paralysis that we've talked about a lot in the context of Q4. So it is, I don't want to say sneaky, that's a really bad word, but it's almost like you're doing people a favor. I would feel like a brand was doing me a favor if they, again, put in front of me the angle that works really well, it resonates with people, they give me a bundled version of the product that works really well for gifting, extra discount, and then I just go straight to checkout. The dream scenario for me, by the way, on a personal level, is if I can then use like PayPal or Apple Pay or Shop Pay or whatever it is, and it's like a one-click checkout scenario. I love that. I think about this a lot, especially during Q4. How can I make it as easy as possible for someone to make this purchase right now? I personally bail all the time if I can't use my like preferred way of doing a one-click payment. I never know where my physical cards are. I don't have the card number memorized, you know? It's kind of embarrassing, I guess, to admit that out loud, but I'm way more likely to buy when it's easy. And that is how a lot of people function, especially around this time of year because it is busy. And like I said, intent is high and everyone is putting their best foot forward. So these tiny little nuances, they might feel like small details that don't really matter, but they add up and they really help provide some true incremental value to your gifting program. So don't forget about post-click when you're looking at gifting content. Don't forget about, especially like I said, checkout process around this time of year. I cannot tell you how much I love a preloaded checkout throughout Q4, just sending people straight to a loaded cart with exactly what they were looking at on the landing page and a cheeky, if it's relevant, little discount. Again, it is a recipe for success. It typically works very well, especially if you can like really bundle things up for a reason and then offer a discount on top of that. I feel like crystals actually turned out to be the perfect example because they are a product where like that would make a lot of sense. The other example we've been using, jewelry, is a little bit more difficult. You're not necessarily going to buy like 4 of the same necklace around the holidays. That's a little wacky crazy, but crystals works actually very well. I'm going to pretend like I had that plan the whole time, even though it's pretty evident that I didn't. But yeah, that is a very quick rundown. One thing that I didn't really touch on is the idea of gift guides. I don't know if this is a hot take, but I don't really like gift guides, especially from a paid point of view. As I was talking about, there's a lot of like pay to play listicles and gift guides from third party sources. I think that often brings you a little more bang for your buck, even though you're kind of maybe rubbing shoulders with competitors. I think there's a bit of a fatal flaw I see in new marketers running a Q4 program for the first time, and they want to put together these like big fancy gift guides that live on the website. That is a great play for an email. The amount of like times I say with my full chest, this should be an email in regards to marketing is bananas. So I would try to steer away from like putting all your time and energy into creating a gift guide style page on your website. It often, like I said, it's new people coming in. So seeing all these products isn't that helpful. I would think more about individual landing pages for top performers and products that are easily giftable. Because like I mentioned, I talk about choice paralysis a lot in the context of post click. It's really easy to get lost in the sauce of scrolling and then to ditch and not actually buy anything. And I think gift guides just kind of add to that. The other thing, I love complaining about things. The other thing about gift guides is that oftentimes when you run gift guide focus creative, it is very broad. It is kind of boring as well. Like imagine a static with a couple different crystals that said like 2025 gift guide. Why do I want those crystals? What makes those crystals better than other crystals? What crystal would I even get from my friend or family member? It just doesn't give enough detail. And it's, again, typically going to net new traffic. So they're not really going to care what your gift guide is. As much as I wish that they would for your sake, they don't really care about your brand. They don't care about your gift guide. They want the details, especially at that like very top point of the funnel. So yeah, that is a last ditch attempt at the end of the episode to convince you not to bet high on gift guides. It's fun for organic. Like I said, it's a fantastic email idea. It works so well with returning customers, people who are already familiar with the brand, with the product. It's perfect for that. It's like technically free to send an email. Don't run paid traffic to a gift guide. That is just a mistake I think everyone makes. I made it, but it never really works out that well. That was the episode. Hopefully it was a gift to you in your strategy around Q4. Just don't forget about it. Like I mentioned, I know that it takes a lot of bandwidth from everyone to really focus up and get Black Friday done, but don't forget about the entire month of December. And also like halfway through, I'm running gifting language on accounts now and it's starting to work pretty well, but I was going to say halfway through November is even the time to start pulling the trigger on that because it sort of compounds against whatever you're running as an offer. And like I mentioned, it is like a really big core component of why people are purchasing so much in Q4. So just make sure that you don't forget about it. Thanks so much for listening. That was a very fun episode. I got to talk about some of my favorite things like crystals and gift giving and my best friend. She's incredible. So that was fun for me. I hope it was a good time for you. And I will chat to you guys next week.